Hello and welcome to CNBC TV 18. Today I'm joined by Siddharth Lal, MD and CEO of Eicher Motors. Thank you, Siddharth, for taking out the time to be with us.
Thank you.
So 2018 has been a mixed bag of sorts for you. So you've seen a labor strike this year. You've also seen a slowdown in growth. The equity price has taken a knock of sorts. But on the other hand, you've had a blockbuster launch of the 650 twins as well. But I'll take these issues one by one. So that was 2018. I'll start with the slowdown in growth and what you're making of it. So for example, data from December shows that sales were down 13% year on year to around 58,000 or thereabouts. What are you making of this? Now you've attributed the slowdown mainly to changes in regulation coming in, mandating ABS, for example. Insurance costs have gone up, and that you had to price in the cost of the motorcycles, which I believe has gone up around 20,000-25,000. How are you expecting 2019 to pan out now with the BS6 deadline coming in? The regulatory burden is here to stay, at least for the time being.
Sure.
What are you doing to catalyze demand?
Well, the demand, of course, and the growth story is what it's all about. And to capitalize on that, we're doing basic stuff, right? Which is basically going back to understanding at the brand level, at the inquiry level, at the walk-in level, and the conversion level, how we operate, and understanding different markets, different segments, different ideas, what's going on. And of course, basically what happened is that after 8-10 years of phenomenal growth, 40+% compounded growth, which for us was, I mean, I wouldn't have predicted that 10 years ago. Obviously, at some level, what's happened is that something have caught up, right? Which is a normal case for any company. And at Royal Enfield, what's happened is that I would say we're at the right juxtaposition right now. We're at a point where the first huge phase of growth has sort of petered out a bit. And when I say petered out a bit, of course, there's a bit of reaction because of December sales drop, which hasn't happened in decades for us, whatever, in a decade for us that we've actually gone down. But that's more transitory as far as I'm concerned, because really we're still on a premiumization trend at Royal Enfield, and that's what we are driving. In December, for example, like you said, a few things caught up with us, and also, we're huge sticklers for just making sure that we don't do anything silly, right? And maybe to the point of being a bit contrary, because I mean, honestly, we could have just stuck in around 6,000-8,000 more motorcycles into the system, done a bit of wholesale, and we would have had a 2% growth, and there wouldn't have been all this hullabaloo and all of that. But that's not what Royal Enfield's about. We just want to make sure, we just wanted to flush out motorcycles from the system, make sure that we start 2019 with fresh motorcycles for consumers, because that's what people want.
In fact, and taking off from that point, I want, so now the slowdown, or at least the perceived slowdown, as you say, like you would have made these numbers look better. But now what has happened, the investor or the market has perceived this to actually be a massive reduction, and that has taken a toll on the share price. So you've seen an erosion over the past year, significant erosion, in fact 25% if I'm correct. Like yesterday the stock was down below 20,000, today it's slightly above that. So it's around 20,300 or thereabouts. But overall now, even for the week, there's been a lot of weakness, 14% lower. Like you said, are you seeing this as a new cycle in the business? Are you expecting this to be the new normal? Will growth stabilize at this point? Or are you going to hark now to the double-digit growth that you were seeing, and as a result try to prop up the share price?
So we don't do anything. In fact, as you can see very clearly, our focus and eyes are not on the share price. That's an outcome of what happens, and that's not our worry. That's something which we have to think about, but that's not what we're driving on a daily basis. It's fundamentals of the business which we're focused on. And for me, I mean, for the year, we still have maybe high single-digit growth for 2018-19. And in fact, the signals are that with a bit of correction behind us that we have, we're going to have, we're going to continue now on our growth journey. This is not the new normal of, let's say, negative growth, certainly not. But who knows? I mean, we're talking about the future, right? This is not something that I can predict with certainty. The only thing I can predict is where we are putting in our efforts and what are the signals we're getting. And those are all, by and large, in the right domain. So, so as we speak, we've got, let's say, we've done some corrections in the last year. We've got an enormous demand for our new motorcycles, which are not able to service because we're still at the early stage of our twins growth. But we have 3.5 million customers of Royal Enfield, and those guys they want something different and new, and the Interceptors come in at the right time. So this is one little engine of growth. Our international business is another engine of growth. So these are all the things that are kicking in now. Himalayan is now starting to upgrade again because we're seeing BS4 is doing really well.
In fact, I want to come to that as well. Now you'd put a production target for FY19 at 9,25,000 units. Now, keeping the new numbers in mind, the way you're seeing sales growth going forward, are you going to scale that down? Are you going to stick to that target?
Well, it's not a target, it's more of a capacity availability. That's how we look at production. It's not a target. And production will always follow sales as far as Royal Enfield is concerned. In our philosophy, it's not that we produce X number of bikes and then we figure out a way of selling them. Our philosophy is that we figure out how many bikes are needed by them and we produce those many. So sure, I mean, if it just depends on how many motorcycles are needed in the next quarter really, because the first 9 months are over. And I mean, I believe now we should start seeing growth again, good growth from Royal Enfield. And you know, we've got, the channel is hankering for more motorcycles right now. And there's, you know, we've had also mismatch. We had certain models like, I don't know, our Thunderbird X was doing really well. We didn't have enough capacity for that. Signals was doing really well. We didn't have enough capacity for that for certain black stuff. So all those things are coming back and forth, and we're you know, good picking now. Yeah.
Now talking about models specifically, the Classic 350 has been the star of your portfolio so far. You've seen the massive revenue come in just from that one single motorcycle. Now over the years, you've tried to keep it fresh. We've seen new color schemes and different variants of the Classic coming out. But I think it's become a bit long in the tooth now. That gap has seen other players, classic legends have come in, for example, with Java. I believe the street is alight with rumors that Harley Davidson, Triumph, etc. also eyeing this Super 250cc, or at least eyeing a chunk of this pie as well. You know, they want to be in this space. I believe you're working on a new J platform to either replace the Classic or perhaps as a new platform. Can we expect something radical from Royal Enfield? Are you going to hit it out of the park, as they say?
Well, the way you need to look at it, I can't comment particularly about a single model and the replacement and the future products and all of that. But the way you need to look at it is that, of course, for BS6, we're doing major upgradations or changes on a lot of our motorcycles, and it's an opportunity for us to upgrade the entire platform. The Classic, the UC, has been around since 2008, and of course, it's, as you know, it's like you said, you know, that's been the engine of growth from 50,000 units to 820,000 units last year. So obviously, there's a lot of good things about it, and the market likes that. But if you see, just and I'm talking about the new motorcycles not because of what the Interceptor and the GT are, but because of what it represents from a new product development process. So the reviews that you've read and that you've understood what that is the future of Royal Enfield's new philosophy of motorcycles. So it's really finesse that we're talking about, and that's what we're going to see in new motorcycles from Royal Enfield, which are obviously, there will be some change and replacement of the Classic because, you know, of the BS6 requirement. But the finesse of our motorcycles, what we're doing inside, what we're doing at a global level, it's all totally new level.
That is the transition we've seen from the push rod 3-unit component engine to the UC, now to a parallel twin. So you have clearly, and like you did mention, the 650 twins, and I wanted to come to that, in fact, that the reviews globally are astoundingly good for the 650 twins. I mean, people love the motorcycle, they believe it's smooth. The character of the motorcycle is completely different from what Royal Enfield has had in the past. And like you said, the focus now is to try and go into refinement. My only one point of concern in this transition is, there have been firstly concerns about quality. For example, we saw some niggles with the Himalayan. Those, I believe, you've ironed out, whatever early niggles there were in that platform. Also, as a cost-conscious customer, people just want more bang for the buck. So when you say modern Classic, for example, is there enough modern in the Classic? For example, in terms of tech, at a similar price point, for example, a KTM, I understand that a cruiser retro standard doesn't really need a slipper clutch, but then they have it. For example, a switchable ABS. Are these things that you're looking forward to try to put more tech into the bike, or you want to keep it old school?
I don't think there's a conflict between more tech and old school, because, for example, our twins, they have a slipper clutch, but that's because they need one. In our estimation, they needed one. It's not about putting tech for the sake of tech. It's about putting tech for better rideability, for better enjoyability of the motorcycle, for being able to push it harder, for being able to ride it better, for being able to get what you want out of that motorcycle. So, so that is the direction in which we're going, which is to use tech for what it is. So, I mean, honestly, the Interceptor, the GT, the new ones, they're loaded with tech. It's just that they look more analog. On the face of it, they're more analog. They've got best fuel injection systems. They've got the best ABS system. They have the, like you said, slipper clutch and whatever else not. But we don't put things just for the sake of it, right? And we want to keep the charm of it. If somebody wants,
it's a classic which is as modern as any other modern
extremely
contemporary
modern,
motorcycle.
but it's not modern for the sake of it, and it's not modern in its look. So honestly, it's probably cheaper today to have those cheap LCD screens which have the little, your the speedo and all that. Yeah. But I find it tacky. I find that tacky, right? I like the old school.
You find the digital tachos tacky?
Yeah, I find digital tachos damn tacky. So, it's cheaper to do it. Right. Others do it, but that's not the reason why we're going to do it. Right. We want the look to be of a particular style. And honestly, if somebody doesn't like that, there are other motorcycles, like you said, for them. True. And that's why we have a point of view. We're a point of view brand, right? So we don't want or need everyone to subscribe to our point of view.
You don't want to shift from a point of legacy. You want to maintain
legacy with a modern context. So if somebody really wants, that gizmo and those flashing LEDs and all sorts of, those kind of things, there are bikes for them. And we are not going to cater to them. So please go there, please buy those. But if you like old school, gorgeous, and in this case, extremely refined, and I mean, people have talked about the throttle response. Motorcycles which are 3 times the price of an Interceptor don't have the kind of throttle response, the kind of smooth, buttery response. We want to excel on the essentials, on the basics. So getting the fueling just right, getting the feel of the braking just right, getting when you're leaning into turns, the way it leans is just absolutely, it graduates just perfectly. There's no jerkiness, there's none of that. That's what we've been focused on. That's what we've been focused on, not on getting
and that's
usable
true. People who've ridden the motorcycle have really enjoyed riding it. So I mean, from a consumer point of view, you have a big hit on your hands. My question is, will we see this particular parallel twin with this order and all the tech coming in, will we see this platform now spawn other motorcycles? For example, there's a lot of clamor online. I mean, rumors about Royal Enfield set a buzz instantly, So there are people saying this is going to be a Himalayan 650 now, it's going to be a Bobber 650 now. Are there any ideas in the works yet?
Yeah, I mean, of course there are. And firstly, the Interceptor and the GT themselves are just at the starting point of their lives. So there's a lot to do there. We've already done, I mean, we showed on a different platform, of course, we showed a bobber concept just to get ideas. And now we're much more sort of trying to just gauge reactions. When we did our US launch in California, we had some customizers do custom bikes on the Interceptor and GT, and one came up with a wonderful scrambler concept, right, which got everyone was super excited about it. So that's an idea. So there are lots of ideas. There are lots of, like you said, the bobber, the scrambler, this, that, and we're working different ideas. And of course, you'll find other things coming out of the twins. But what you'll also find coming out of the twins is the kind of refinement that you've heard about, and hopefully you'll ride one soon and find out. That kind of refinement is the future of all of our motorcycles, and the kind of finesse that we're bringing into our entire range of motorcycles.
I also believe now you have a 1,000-point checklist and you've hired people from Japan, experts to actually take care of all the quality coming down the line. Is that correct? And are there other measures that you're putting in place?
Yeah, so we went through the twins, again I'm talking about them because they're latest product, but we have a full new and absolutely reformed new product development and introduction process, which we started off with these new twins, which is a very long process. It takes 3.5 years for us to bring a motorcycle in from concept to production, and the number of hours, the number of people, the number of tests, validation, like the validation and tests run into equivalent of, including rigs and field, run into equivalent of millions of kilometers, right? And that's the kind of work we're doing. And therefore, you already see, I mean, in all the media rides and everything else, the Royal Enfield new products, people are saying, shit, everything just worked the way it should work. And you can't sort of make that happen by sort of fiddling around with media bikes. These are real production motorcycles, right? And we're seeing that in the market as well. All the motorcycles that are going into the market, it's absolutely spot on. And then, of course, these are mechanical products, whether from a motorcycle perspective, consumer perspective. So our training, our parts availability, all of that is now at a totally new level. On the checklist, for example, there's a new process called Shokirido Kanri, which is only for the initial period, where we have a 1,000-point checklist. It takes 6 hours. I've done that entire checklist on one of the Interceptors, for example, gone through the full list. It's such a fat book which you go through, and there's measurement parameters, there's this, there's that, there's special gauges. So you go through every single thing, the routing of every cable, for example, the finish of every part, for example, and it's a static test and a dynamic test. So you actually test it, you ride it, you understand, you hear, you see, you feel, all of that. And after you do that 1,000-point checklist, and these are trained engineers who are doing that, another person does another 1,000-point checklist on the same motorcycle, right? The same 1,000-point checklist, sorry, another guy does it, just to make sure that everything's right. Of course, that's very labor intensive. You can't do it for full production. So now, because we're a month and a half into production, now it's not done on every single motorcycle, it's done on an audit process, right? But initially, the first 1,000-odd motorcycles were done, every single motorcycle had to go through 2 times a 1,000-point checklist, just to make sure that anything, including headlamp alignment, still in transit, when you do PDI, there are some things that, something could go wrong. So therefore, we have a strong PDI test. We bring that back into the factory. So it's a very robust process that we put in. It's a very robust process. It's absolutely at world-class levels that we are operating at, and you're seeing the results of that.
Right. Now, speaking of global plans, in 2017 you had made a bid for Ducati, but then the parent group Volkswagen kind of pulled out of that. Now there's a rejig in the management, and there might be an idea that they would like to prune their portfolio a little bit. And Ducati, if perhaps there is a chance that is on the block again, would you make a bid for it?
Well, no, I don't comment on M&A, so I can't tell you whether I'd make a bid for something or not.
Okay, let me rephrase that a little bit. If you were looking at an acquisition, what would you be looking for in that brand?
Let me put it this way, that firstly, we always keep our eyes and ears open to potential opportunities of any kind, right? But on the other hand, we're an extremely focused brand, and we're very aware that any distraction, and M&As normally become a huge distraction, can derail our core, let's say, our core objectives, right? So, Royal Enfield today we've grown, we've had an enormous growth, 50,000 to 800,000 plus, but in the larger scheme of things, we're still a small company in the global scheme, right? So, as we look forward, Royal Enfield still has in my view, has the potential and runway and path to 10x, right, over the next 10, 20 years. And if, for example, we said that, well, that's it now, we're now sort of capped at our future, then M&A becomes really important, because you have an understanding of certain things. You're not able to do it on your own line, so you say, well, can I get another product and do that? But in our case, we believe that the mid-weight market, mid-size market globally is quite untapped. And there's no modern, classic, gorgeous motorcycle, which is a premium product for upgraders to come up to.
In fact, you have been expanding into Southeast Asia as well, more prominently now. What plans, as far as that space is concerned, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia?
Absolutely. So what we did was 4-5 years ago, we put in stores in a lot of different countries. We were always present in heritage markets and let's say developed countries like US, Europe, UK and all that. But where the biggest potential is in emerging markets, in markets like Southeast Asia, Latin America, we put in stores to understand, to see, because market research doesn't do much. Actually, if people are putting money and buying motorcycles, that's when you actually see that there's that they mean it. And And that's where we've been seeing really good traction. So we're now doubling down on our efforts in Thailand, for example, because we found really good traction there. We find that that in fact the roads are more developed in India. The consumers have more money than typically in India. So they're much more amenable, in fact, to.
So it's a more mature market.
It's a more mature market. Same with Brazil. Same with Colombia. So these are the kind of markets that could be the next India for us, right? But the thing is, again, it's a perspective of time. We want to keep putting in different things, but it'll take 5-10 years. It's not going to happen overnight. So, but in a 10-year horizon, if I can see 4 markets which are like a home market for us, that's golden, right? I mean, if Thailand, Brazil, Mexico, I don't know which markets, 3-4 markets, I don't know which ones yet, but I think 2-3 of them we know. If we can have 3-4 markets which are of that caliber, where we're the largest player in mid-sized motorcycles, where we've grown the market like we have in India, where we have 5, 6, 10, 15% of the motorcycle market, that's what we're gunning for. And that's what will take us to a truly global motorcycle brand. Yeah.
So I would assume that's one of the resolutions for 2019. Are there any other personal resolutions that you've made this year?
Personal resolutions, I'm not going to tell you all of them, but one is...
Just the on-air worthy ones.
But yeah, I think from a company perspective, it's really to double down on what we have. We have a very important year for us because it's a huge year of transition.
Right.
We have BS6 coming in, which we can't take lightly because of, not just from a product perspective, but because of the entire supply chain work that we have to do. Right? It's the first full year of our new twins. We have to, we have to do justice to the potential of the twins in India and in markets around the world. Our Himalayan is making a resurgence. It's been a surprise winner in international markets, for example. So in markets like Colombia, it's over 50% of our sales are now Himalayan. In US, I can't remember, but 40-50% of our sales are Himalayan. In fact, it wasn't meant for those markets, but now we're working on those. So we have a wider range of new products in markets around the world, which are getting traction. Today, the emails, it's really nice to see that again. Today, the emails and the calls I'm getting is from our market companies, from our dealers, our distributors saying, send more twins quickly. So it's a good sign. It's a good sign. We just got to, make sure that we do justice to all this opportunity that we have in front of us.
Well, absolutely. On behalf of CNBC TV 18 and all our viewers, I wish you good luck, Siddharth. Many thanks for joining us, and all the best for 2019 and heading into the future. Many thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.